Nothing you've ever learned about sales will have any chance of working if you don't understand this very basic concept. Let's start with an update on the Roy Smalley autograph gate.
Yeah, because Roy was just here and he's concerned about it. He's not sleeping nice.
See, so this is the thing, is that he seemed pretty upset when think about it, the first time.
He hates you.
Well, listen, I'm 10, 11 years old, right? He's my childhood idol. If you'd have told me back
That's
then.
one of the reasons he hates you, by the way. You're telling him how old he is.
Well, sorry about that, Roy. But I think we have bigger problems here. I mean, when we met each other in the parking ramp, I mean, think about this. You're 11 years old, and he's your idol, and you want to get this autograph from him and stuff like that. And then if someone were to tell you that years down the road, right, you're going to actually meet this guy, and the only thing he was going to say to you was, "I never use a stamp." I mean, here we are. So, I mean, it's my car and his bigger truck, right? Where he literally stops me. So I'm a little, this is kind of nice that I'm important enough that Roy Smalley would stop me to talk to me. He rolls down his window and he says, "I never use the stamp." And I'm like, he's like, "I never use the stamp." I never use the stamp. And he's an intimidating guy, and I don't know him like you know him, but I got to tell you, it was intimidating. So anyway, I felt it was my responsibility to do the research and to find out what really happened. So I could not find the autograph picture in my collection. I couldn't find any of those old baseball cards or anything. So I reached out to a childhood friend of mine whose name is Matt Anderson, and I said, "Do you remember when this happened?" He said, "Remember." He said, "I was jealous that you had the Roy Smalley photo, and I didn't. And I do remember it had the printed signature therein."
Wow, a witness. We have a witness in the case.
No. I got to give Roy Smalley, props here. He didn't use a stamp. Matt explained to me that all of the photo op pictures that they sent out back then had a pre-printed autograph. So when Roy Smalley says it was not a stamp, he is 100% correct, and I stand corrected for calling it a stamp. It wasn't a stamp. It was a pre-printed autograph, like a litho-printed autograph on the thing. So what could have happened easily is because Mr. Smalley's, the demand for his photos were off the charts, that one of them slipped out without him having a chance to sign it. Or maybe somebody there was thinking, Mr. Smalley's a busy, busy man, and we need to, if a few of these go out, and maybe by my letter, they assumed that I wasn't very bright. Maybe I didn't come off as a very bright 11-year-old, and they thought if anybody's gonna not know this is a real autograph, it's this kid, So I don't know. Anyway, Roy, if you're listening, I apologize for misrepresenting what happened back in the late 70s, early 80s, but anyway.
Thank God we can all get back to our lives.
We are here to talk about sales, and let me tell you, I couldn't sleep last night because of all the things that we're going to talk about on the show. This is the one that I feel excited about it because not that I don't feel like I have the right to talk about some of these other things. I've got some great experience, but this one, I've got conviction. Jim, I got conviction on this thing because I have seen this work, and this, what I'm about to share with the audience, I think is profound but super basic. And it's important for every salesperson to know all these things we learn in sales training. They're all valid at some point, to some degree, in certain circumstances. Any sales training you've ever had about, attention, interest, conviction, desire, close, all the acronyms you can come up with, they all ring true. But they don't make any sense if you don't understand the fundamentals. I'm going to do a sports thing here for you. And this could be because of my lack of attention, right? When I was a kid particularly. But when I was young and we were learning, when I was in basketball, for example, they taught us the plays and the moves but they never taught us why, right? Mm-hmm. So it took until probably 7th or 8th grade for me to understand how valuable a drop step was.
Right.
You know, nobody took time when I was in Central 6 basketball to say, the reason you stand right here is because with one very small move, you now separate yourself between this person, between the defender and you got a wide open shot right to the basket. You figure that out in time, but it's the same thing with sales. Is people go to sales training and people say you have to do this, you have to do that, and they don't understand it. So here's the big question: why do people buy? You need to know why people buy if you want to have any chance to make a sale, so to speak. So I'm going to tee this up for you, and I'm going to sit here praying to God that you help me tee this up correctly. We have not talked about this before the show, everybody.
No.
So I just want you to answer the question: why do you think people buy, or maybe even why do you buy? But why do you think people buy?
Boy, I don't have a simple answer. For me, trying to think about my own spending patterns and my own finances and everything else, it would be percentages. It'd be like, sometimes you buy because of convenience. Well, it would certainly, some things you buy because of need, obviously. But when you buy those things that you need, it's a combination of price and convenience for me. And then I also have this splurge. Every once in a while, I go buy a guitar or do something that's completely non-essential. And when I do that, I have to feel like I'm getting somebody has to make me feel good about it. I have to feel like I'm getting a good deal or getting something unique. And I don't know how much salesmanship affects me. Obviously, I don't want to buy from somebody who I consider to be a jerk or unhelpful, but I don't know if somebody could actually just walk up to me and sell something to me that I wasn't looking to get already. Is that the kind of answer? I didn't even know that's the category of answer you were looking for.
Well, so you teed it up right, because you did include the word price in your, and I want to talk very much about that, because I'll just tee this up by saying nobody ever buys anything because of the price, and I'll explain that later. But I will also say you are smarter than the average bear. In terms of understanding this, because most people would have answered something like quality, service, price. We hear this all the time. There's the three things that people say. People buy because of quality, service, price. There's also this adage out there saying quality, service, price, pick any two. You can't have all three. And there is a little bit of truth to that. However, you mentioned some words that were very intuitive that I'm going to get to, and one of them is convenience. Back to the quality, service, price. Nobody buys on quality. Nobody buys on service. Just like nobody buys a feature, right? If I go to buy a refrigerator that has an ice maker and it has a filter on it, I don't buy a refrigerator because it has a filter. I buy it because the water tastes damn good when I use the filter, and it makes me feel healthy. And it makes me feel like I'm safe, and it makes me feel, right? It all has to do with me and my perception of things. Now, if I know this as I'm going into a sale, you said salesmanship. I don't know how much salesmanship affects me. I'm going to tell everybody out there right now, salesmanship doesn't affect anybody in any other way but negatively, because if you're using salesmanship on somebody, the best you can do is sell them things one time. You might be able to pressure somebody into it. You might be able to do this. You have to understand, you don't want to sell anything to anybody that doesn't want to buy, but therein lies your challenge. You need to bridge the gap between what they think about it now and what they think about it when they shake their head and say, yes, I'll move forward. That's the key. And this is what we're going to talk about. The three things. Again, I have studied this up and down. I've tested it. I challenge anybody to go on Twitter, throw the boss out Twitter, throw out anything that you think does not fit, and I will be challenged to show you how it does. People buy because of three major things. There's some underlying sub things, so don't go on a tangent on me here. For the most part, they buy because of comfort, they buy because of convenience, or they buy because of prestige. Throw out if you have anything in your head right now, test me. Throw it out there.
Well, let's see. You said, give it to me again. Let's reiterate. Comfort.
Yes, sir.
What was the second?
Convenience.
Convenience,
which
yes,
is what
which
you
I
said.
agree. And prestige. Well, all those three things make sense to me. I know convenience is a big deal, especially in American society. Nobody wants to get in a covered wagon and go an hour to get something. They want it to be right here, right now. They're going to be able to order it. They want to get it when they want it. Absolutely. Prestige, we all know certain people will buy certain things because it makes them look or feel good. Absolutely. Comfort. Explain comfort to me.
So all three of these can intermix with the other ones. But I'll give you a great example. If you talk about convenience, if you went, if something was extremely convenient, you ordered something and it came delivered to your house minutes later. Let's take food. Mm-hmm. I got convenience. I call, I call a restaurant that has delivery service, and they bring it over, and I open it up, and it looks completely inedible.
We've had that happen.
Yes. So you're not going to be comfortable.
Nope.
Right? Now, you're never going to order from them again, or you might turn it away, or whatever. How many times have you been in a situation where, and maybe you've even gone forward with the sale, but only once. You go to a place that's really convenient to buy something, or maybe they're the only place that carries something, but the people that you interact with there just don't seem credible.
I'm out.
Exactly, right? So there's where comfort comes in, and it can be, this topic can go on and on and on. Comfort is the one thing that probably by itself can nix a sale, altogether if the other ones. In all fairness, all three of these, the reason that I've categorized them the way they are is because any one of them could be the predominant reason you buy, and it could actually overrule the other two.
I can see that.
Kind of how I came up with the three things. But you brought up price, and we're going to talk more about this, but let me give you a great example of how price could actually be any one of the three. Price, a lot of times, is a prestige buy, right? The other thing I want to say, I'm going to go back to, sorry to jump around you, this whole quality service price thing, those are socially imposed excuses to buy. Right? That's the answer I give you, generally speaking, when you say, well, why do you buy from that place? Well, the quality of the product is outstanding, and, all those things. Price, back to price, sorry to go on a tangent on you there. The price is almost always a prestigious thing. How many times have you had the experience where somebody is going to tell you how cheap they bought something?
Lots.
Right. And how do you take that?
Let me think. I don't know. I don't
hate it. I hate it. I don't care. Honestly.
I was thinking someone would, there are two different ways. Somebody can tell you, I got it for this, and they're bragging, and that's annoying. The other way could be, hey, I got this for this price. You might be able to get it for that price,
They're
too.
still bragging. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're right.
I just think to myself, when was the last time that somebody, what am I supposed to say? Well, congratulations. Right. That's, wow. Tom, holy cow! Of all of the skills that you have, negotiating a good price on a motorcycle is, wow. I'm seriously, am I gonna walk from that conversation going, that Tom, man, he just never ceases to amaze me, right?
And I'm sure he's the only person who ever got that price. So
correct. See, but that's how it's. But it's a prestige thing, and that's what I'm saying is that so often somebody wants to get a good deal, almost exclusively so they can tell people how great a deal they got, right?
And let me offer a flip side.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your show, but...
no, you're going to go there for me.
Stacy, well, this is, again, the flip side. Stacy, my wife, she used to work in marketing back before she became a school teacher. She did some marketing research for... Maybe I shouldn't mention the brand name. Oh, what the hell? It was a long time ago.
They're now a sponsor. Unofficially... is our sponsor.
They won't want to be a sponsor after they hear this.
No, they'll love to. Oh, they won't.
No. So Brandon, you decide whether you should leave in or take out the word in this ad.
I say bleep it.
Well, yeah, we'll bleep it. I'm going to write down that we're going to bleep.
Bleep.
So,
And anybody listening to this doesn't know what got decided beforehand. So this makes the show
Exactly.
extremely exciting.
oh, it makes it very
And
intriguing.
I apologize for interrupting.
No, it's okay. So she was doing market research, and what she found working with potential car dealer for this certain brand customers was they wanted to pay more. They didn't want to buy a cheap brand X. They wanted the brand
Exactly.
X to be cost this much, so people they could drive around in a car that people knew cost that much.
Yes.
So that's prestige.
That's exactly it. That was the next thing I was going to say. Now, why do you think wouldn't want that in our podcast now that they're a sponsor? Unofficially.
Well, it makes it sound like they jacked the price up to make people feel good.
Oh, I didn't get that from
Yeah.
the story, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
but
what Stacy was saying was that dealers, buyers at this time, this might have been 20 years ago. This is a different.
I'm saying it's still true today. And
might
that's
be.
not just...
And they didn't want to have a vehicle that sold for the same price as like a Chevy. They wanted their stuff to be more expensive, whether it justified it or not.
Okay, so that's there. Now, let's talk about justified, right? We're going to get into some algebra. You okay with that?
I'll let
I
you
know
handle
we
the
talked
math.
about the fact that you and I are really not that great at math, but I'm going to venture into this because you might be one of those kids in high school where the guidance counselor said to you, don't worry about math, you're going to be a salesman anyway.
They didn't say that to me. They said, don't worry about math, you're going to be a writer
You're going to be
anyway.
in, right? Yeah. Okay, whatever. Or you're going to be in PR, so don't worry about the math side of things. This is where the nexus of math and being a good salesperson comes to play. We talked about the adage, service plus quality plus price. And essentially what's being said is, if I was going to put it in an equation, it would be service plus price plus quality equals sale, where sale is the X. Not true. We're going to switch our equation around. We're going to go back to our three keywords. Comfort, convenience, prestige equals what?
Price.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Right? So when you understand that equation, there should be minds exploding out there right now. There should be minds exploding.
You surprised me with that, but
Because
that makes
this
sense.
is it.
Yeah.
Price is the measurement of everything else, and that's why I go back to what I said. Nobody buys on price. They buy on if the price equals everything on the other side of the equal sign.
Interesting.
So when people say that person bought on price, I say, no. You look at comfort, you look at convenience, you look at prestige. Now, we're going to talk about price cutting later and the damage that it can have if you're in a sales situation, because you can literally completely upset the equation. Because just like in algebra, they're always going to be sub-equal. It's always going to be, they're going to equalize each other out. There we go. You got to help me with some of this literal stuff, Jim. However, where were we at on before I go on this tangent? Because I get so excited about this.
I know, comfort, which is fun. Comfort, convenient, prestige. I was telling the Cadillac story about price.
Yes. Okay, so thank you. You just got it. It just like bam, right there in the middle of my forehead. When people pay that extra price for a Cadillac, you might be a very pragmatic person that says, I'm just looking at the features, I'm just looking at the materials, I'm just looking at the mechanical parts of that car and say, I could get that car in a different brand name for less money. So in that regard, I'm paying too much for it. No. Cadillac's an experience. Now, some of it might be perceived, but who cares? It makes you feel comfortable. So just knowing that, for example, Cadillac needs to take care of people because they've charged a higher price than people.
Right.
So you can expect, or you will probably experience, that if you have any issues with a Cadillac, even though it might be the same pieces of metal and everything like that, that they take care of things faster, better. They care about things.
Speaking to comfort
Exactly.
and convenience.
And prestige.
And prestige,
Who
yep.
doesn't like to call and go, hey, I got a little bit of a problem, and have somebody say, oh, Mr. Leach, I'm so sorry that has happened. I'm going to take care of that by 3:30 this afternoon, right? I walk away from that going, I'm king here, Cadillac loves me. So I think we are going to secure a Cadillac advertiser out of this. I really, really do. And after I go through all this sales training, Jim,
I was saying you're going to be very well prepared to do that.
No, I was going to prepare you to do that. So you can do it.
I will try.
This is our experiment to get Jim to call a major motor vehicle.
That's why I have salespeople, Joe. That's why I have salespeople.
Well, we'll teach them how to go out and to get that. So think of anything else.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this experiment. You run and own Riff City Guitars. Mm-hmm. I am the kind of guitarist who, even though I absolutely do not need another guitar, I always want another guitar. And my thing right now is I have a semi-hollow that I love. I have an acoustic I love. I have a Telecaster I love. And I have a PRS, double humbucker that I love, right? I don't need another guitar. Those cover so many sonic, territories. They're my PRS is ergonomic. It's light. It's easy to wear during a gig. I don't need anything else. But I'm one of those people who always wants a Stratocaster because everybody I love who's a great guitarist has ended up playing a Stratocaster at some time. I don't even know so it's someday I'm going to want to buy a Stratocaster. It might be next year. It might be 10 years from now, but eventually I'm going to get one, right? So how do you, as a salesperson, as a guitar shop owner, how do you get me?
Oh, so I need to back up here.
Yep.
What is it about a Stratocaster you love besides the fact
The
that
look, the history, the ergonomics, the variety of tones.
So the look is pretty basic, Jim. Tell me more about what you like about the look.
But that's just a nostalgic thing.
Let me ask you this. Can you tell the difference between a real Fender Stratocaster and kind of a copy Stratocaster?
It depends on the copy.
Okay.
Because there are so many. There are high-end copies that are basically better than Fender Stratocasters.
Would you ever buy a copy of a Stratocaster?
Depends on whether, and the word copy is really interesting because there are like Sirs. There are, what's the guy who does the relicking? There are Stratocasters out there that are made by other companies that are probably better than Stratocasters.
But they're not really Stratocasters. But for what reason, though?
They aren't. What do you explain the question?
I'm saying that you said they're Stratocasters, but they're not really Stratocasters.
Different
name.
brand, just different brand, different manufacturer. They're the same thing. They're the same shape, same pickup alignment, same. They tweak them to try to do something different or better with them, but they're basically Stratocasters.
Right. So do I hear you saying that when you make this purchase, it's going to be a real Stratocaster?
I don't know for sure. I would lean that way, but
how
not
come?
necessarily.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
In my research, you can pay extra to like a boutique builder and get what might be a better version of a Stratocaster. I'm not sure they're enough better than a Fender Stratocaster to justify a difference in price.
Okay,
because I think Fender has done a better and better job with quality control and putting their stuff together in recent years.
Yes, how do you know that?
From playing guitars a lot.
Okay. And the three guitars that you mentioned, what don't they have that a Stratocaster has in your opinion?
They don't sound like a Stratocaster.
So it's just the sound.
It's the sound. It's the combination of sound.
What would be the first song you would learn if you had a Stratocaster?
It would have to be a Hendrix song.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'd have to do a Hendrix. So it would be a combination. I want a Strat for the combination of ergonomics. It's the most comfortable guitar ever made. Distinctive sound. Nothing else quite sounds like a Stratocaster. Variety of sounds. You get the 5-way pickup selector. And then for me, one of the reasons I have leaned toward thinking about Fender so far, they've got a couple of models out that are different. There's the Eric Clapton Stratocaster, which is noiseless pickups with basically a boost on it, so it can sound more like a Les Paul, even though you're playing a Strat. And then there's the new Fender Elite with the Shawbucker, which has a humbucker built in, also has a blow switch.
You really love this stuff, don't you?
I do. I really do.
I mean, I can tell you just absolutely love this stuff.
I do. I love guitars.
So what has kept you from getting this? I mean, because honestly, there's right now, from everything you've told me,
Yep.
I don't see any reason why you don't have one. So there's got to be a reason.
Well, finances, budget. We just paid for my wife to go back to school. It would be irresponsible for me to go spend money on something that's purely a selfish, unnecessary thing right now. But eventually, that money will be in the budget, and I'll go do it.
Oh, interesting. That's too bad. I have a incredible custom shop with everything you just mentioned on it.
Well, once we get a Cadillac sponsorship, I'll be able to afford it.
Right. It's like $600.
Oh, well, we'll have to talk.
Are we going to talk, Jim, or are we going to make a deal?
We're going to talk. Then we'll talk to my wife, and then we'll see.
Well, so what I'm trying to point out is that I can't sell you anything. I can't talk you into something that you're not going to want. Mm-hmm. But I can try, as I did, to bridge the gap between where you're at now and where I'm at. I would say, if I was going to dissect, the real reason isn't just finances. You are still not sure if somebody gave you $1,500 right now, you wouldn't spend it today. I know you wouldn't spend it today. I know that you would do more research. I heard the word research as we were talking. And I also heard a bunch of features that you loved that didn't sound like they were going to come on one guitar.
Right. It would be a choice between one or the other.
So if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to say, I'm going to keep Jim in my warm file, right? And I'm going to make sure that I remember Jim's needs. I remember the things that Jim loved. And I'm just going to, every time we talk, I'm going to try to bridge the gap, because there's no reason for me to do what I did at the end to try to twist your arm, because I'm sure there's plenty of people listening right now that are saying, I'll take that deal. You got a custom shop strap for $600.
Yeah.
We're probably going to have people tweeting saying, I'll take that guitar. But you didn't. So I learned a lot from that little interaction. And we're going to talk about we're going to do another show. This show is going to we're going to use the full amount of time on this. But I want to talk a lot about this whole question, asking questions, and how effective that is when you're doing sales. So you have to build value. This is what I'm saying. And you can't build value. Salespeople out there, don't get mad when someone doesn't see the value in your product. Don't get mad. It doesn't pay. You're basically just saying you see value and that person doesn't. You haven't done your job. Or the value is not, you are not capable of building the value. Let's take advertising, because it is one of the most competitive, toughest things to sell. And let's talk about how we could sell advertising from a comfort, convenience, prestige standpoint. Okay, so far what we've taught you, let's say you were the salesperson and you were going to go and try to talk to Cadillac about a sponsorship. How would you approach that? Comfort, convenience, prestige. I mean, we've been talking about people. How do you apply that to a business?
I wish I knew.
Jim. Dig deep.
Honestly, that's one of the reasons.
Who buys the advertising at Cadillac? We don't know.
Advertising executives, right? I mean, do they have people?
But they have people. Believe it or not, they have people. And that is the thing when you're dealing with business. You have to realize you're still selling to a person. Mm-hmm. As much as they want to say, you're working with a committee, I have to get somebody else's approval. The only mistake you could make is thinking you're talking to the decision maker when you're not. So it's very, very key. When you're selling a business, you have to get to the decision maker. Actually, even in a family, you have to get to the decision maker. But let's talk about business, because we're talking about advertising. We want to get to the decision maker, and so you have to do a lot of work to do this. I'll take another little tangent here real quick. Sales is tough. Anybody that thinks sales is easy, and frankly, for all of you out there, I don't mean to be rude, but when you say I got the gift of gab, it's a little bit insulting, because sometimes a salesperson might think, well, I'm born with this ability to talk to anybody, and so I'll make a good salesperson. A good salesperson works really hard. At the end of the day,
I agree with that.
They are mentally exhausted from doing their job correctly. I do have a little bit of an interesting analogy between salespeople and musicians, and sales is like playing bass. If you just want to be in a band, right? If you just want a sales job, right? They're the easiest ones to get into the field because you can find a sales job anywhere. You can take a commission sales job somewhere. You can do whatever. Playing bass, there's 4 strings, and there's really 3 or 4 patterns that you can learn. I can honestly tell you, if somebody wanted to play bass in a band, almost anybody could get by enough to actually play with other people. It might take longer to, it's a little bit harder on your muscles as far as the playing goes. But for the purposes of actually mechanically playing a driving beat, a walk, a waltz, there's 4 or 5 things. To just get by, bass is easiest. You want a career? Sales is easiest. You want to be the best salesperson? You're going to work your butt off, and it's going to be way harder than anything else you've ever done. Short of maybe brain surgeon.
Well, I agree.
Brain surgery.
Because as people listening to this know, we now have the Talk North network, talknorth.com. I started from scratch, and I was able to put together really good shows with really good people, and selling advertising is the hardest thing to find somebody to do for you.
Yes, it is, because it's hard work.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. How are we doing for our time?
We are about 32 minutes, so we can make this segment 1 and start segment 2 whenever you're ready.
Let's do this. Let me just wrap up with this so we keep a conducive thought process going. You are still back to the business thing. So you're still dealing with a person. And so somebody at Cadillac is a person. If I get to that person, I can then figure out, and in today's day and age, it's so easy with LinkedIn and all this stuff, I can figure out pretty quickly what drives that person. Do they buy by prestige? Do they buy by comfort? Do they buy by convenience? And if I don't figure it out before I call them, I'm going to figure it out with 3 or 4 questions when I finally get through to them. So let's carry this over to the next show and dig in.
This is Throw the Boss Out with Joe Leach, part of the Talk North Podcast Network. It's a Minnesota podcast network, a lot of sports. This is our business show. Please check out all the shows at talknorth.com, and we'll be back with segment 2 next week.